When you grow up in ends and when you grow up in an area that is low socioeconomic background, you are basically shown more limitations than you do your ladders. And I wanted to be a voice of possibility and not a voice of limitation. I believe in the God of abundance. I believe that there's no such thing as limitation in this world when you serve a living God and when you serve a great God. The most powerful voice you have is your inner voice, and how that voice actually shapes your destiny. That voice shapes your decisions. That voice shapes what you settle for in terms of life, business, relationships. Yeah. That voice is the most important voice, so you better invest in that voice. You better ensure that voice is healthy. You better ensure that voice is speaking life and love over you. If somebody has a healthy inner voice, they can come across very cocky. No, they're just confident because they know who they are. Some people feel uncomfortable with it because a lot of people don't actually know who they are.
Why do you think then so many capable, intelligent people stay underpaid for years even when they know they're worth more?
You don't get the life you want, you get the life you settle for. A lot of people settle because a lot of people care too much what people think.
How important is personal branding today when it comes to opportunity and income? And how can people move past the fear of being judged when they start building an online presence? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have a special guest in the building. Second time on the podcast, right?
Second time
on the podcast. So my guest today is Hayley Mulenda Record. She's a best-selling author, a multi-award-winning international speaker, and someone who spent years helping people understand confidence, identity, and an inner voice that shapes how we show up in our lives and careers. Hayley, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm blessed, brother. I can't complain.
You know what? I'm so excited to have you on the podcast again, because when we had our first conversation, I don't know if you read the comments of the first one, but a lot of people really liked it.
Wow.
Really, yeah, a lot of.
And that was like 2 years ago.
I know. A lot of great comments. Yeah.
Wow.
And I can still get people watching it till today.
Wow, that's amazing.
Huge impact. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. But yeah, so how's your day been? How's the week been for you?
Busy. Obviously, book launch week. We launched in London on Friday. Then I had a speaking engagement on the Saturday. Then I went to Belgium on Saturday evening, did a book launch and book signing in Belgium on the Sunday. Then came back on Monday, did another book signing. And then I did podcast runs from yesterday. And then this is my third podcast run.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're working hard. Yeah, you're working hard.
And then I fly back to Dubai tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
And then I do another book launch the day after.
Out there too.
And a mastermind,
Wow. To be fair, like I'm really liking the layout of the book.
Thank you.
The book is amazing. We're going to be talking a little bit about it as well. So please, people do stay tuned for the whole of the conversation. And so my first question for you is, when you look back, what's an early experience that shaped how you see yourself today? Not just as a speaker, but as a person.
I don't know if I shared this in the first podcast, but I share that, trigger warning, I will be talking about crime and violence, but I share that the fact that when I was 15, I nearly got stabbed.
Wow.
So I nearly got stabbed, grew up in Newham, West Ham Park, literally a few minutes away from my former secondary school, which was St. Angela's. And I just got affiliated with the wrong people. I guess there was just, we didn't know any better. We were young. And even though I don't warrant that type of behavior, I was set up basically. So it was a group of friends, male friends who I thought, had my back, and they wanted my BlackBerry. So they set me up to basically get stabbed so they could rob my BlackBerry. And it was a crazy experience, experiencing that at the age of 15. I'll never forget it because it happened on Valentine's Day, actually. I'll never forget that, actually.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember kind of being in a predicament where, thank God, out of fear, what happened is that so the knife actually touched my abdomen, but rather than him going forward, he actually went back because someone saw. And it was literally by the grace of God that somebody saw him pull out the knife on me. So the woman basically said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And because he was scared, he basically went back rather than going into my abdomen. And he ran away, and she called the police, and the police basically took me, and then they basically put me in the back of the car. And then when they weren't looking, I ran out of the car and I ran away. Because I basically was just kind of like, this is going to look so mad. I'm a young black girl at the back of a police car. I'm not sitting in the front of the car, so it looks like I'm in trouble. How do I explain it to my mum? I shouldn't have actually been at the house. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Like, there were so many different scenarios, and I basically just made a decision, like from that day onward, that I was going to be a voice for change in my area. So shortly after that is when I ran for young mayor.
Okay.
So I ran for young mayor of Newham when I was 16, and I was basically trying to eradicate knife crime. And it's because of the fact that I was nearly a victim of knife crime, and I didn't want to be statistic. So I've been more or less, now I'm 28, so I've been more or less doing this for 12 years, where I've been more or less trying to be a voice and to speak up on issues that people didn't, it's not that people didn't want to, it's just that people didn't have the audacity to. And there was something in me where I was like, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when?
Wow. No, I don't think you said that story. I don't think you said that story in the first podcast. I'm thinking like my mouth wide open. It's like, wow, that's mad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. So that's what sprung you into like being a speaker. And would you say that kind of still, that thinking about it and talking about it, does that still fuel you today?
I wouldn't necessarily just say that. I think my environment and my upbringing definitely does fuel me. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that when you grow up in ends and when you grow up in an area that is low socioeconomic background, you are basically shown more limitations than you do your ladders.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a voice of possibility and not a voice of limitation. And I think it's very easy to basically look at particular people and think that it can only be them. And I've never been kind of like an us versus them, like, oh, I'm on this side of the world. Okay, I live in Dubai now. I've earned 7 figures. Like I'm traveling around the world. I'm very much kind of like, no, my mentees are coming and shadowing me.
Yeah.
They are coming to speaking engagements with me. I'm introducing them. I'm bringing them into rooms simply because of the fact that, you know, I believe that God allowed me to go into those rooms to bust down the door that other people can walk in. And I've also encountered a lot of gatekeeping. So in my younger years of speaking, there was a lot of rooms I tried to get into, a lot of people who I messaged. And I'll be honest with you, it was a lot of older Black women who were actually gatekeepers. A lot of them didn't let me in. If anything, it was actually a lot of older Black men. It was a lot of older white women, and it was a lot of older white men that actually brought me in.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was actually.
How did you feel with that kind of?
I basically vowed that it would never be me. I vowed that basically whatever I experienced, and don't get me wrong, like it hasn't been everyone. There's definitely been a lot of supportive Black women, and I can sing praises for a lot of Black women, but I would definitely say I've also had a lot of backlash from them as well. And I think maybe for them, they may have felt it's continuing the cycle, hurt people. Maybe they felt like, you know, I had to fight, and maybe, you know, some people feel like, you know, I had to fight, so you have to fight as well. But I just don't think that's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary.
And that's just me. And I'm willing to have the conversation basically to be like, we need to do better, especially for the next generation. Like, you know, I was only 18 years old when I was getting particular messages or completely getting ignored. Even I'd go to particular networking events and it'd be awkward because they would kind of, you know, you've kind of reached out to them, and then when they see you, they act like they don't know you. It's been mad awkward.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I know what your feelings.
Now you're shining.
But you know what? I don't even look at it like I'm shining or whatnot, because I'm
on them.
I'm not petty. I'm not the type of person where I'm gonna be like, oh, you did this to me, because especially because I'm a Christian as well. I'm a person of faith, and you know, I believe in forgiveness, and I also believe in being a bigger person. So some of the people, you know, who have not necessarily been supportive of me, I'm not going to give the same energy because I'm not insecure.
Yeah.
So even if you try to hold me back, I'm not going to hold back my resources, because I believe in the God of abundance.
Yeah.
I believe that there's no such thing as limitation in this world when you serve a living God and when you serve a great God. So for me, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. If you need something, then it's cool. Like, it's not that deep.
And that's the thing, you know what you were saying about, like, I think supporting each other and abundance. There is definitely, I feel like you say, that insecurity is like from a place of lack rather than them feeling like there's enough. And there is enough in this world.
Enough,
there's more than enough. More than enough.
Yes.
And you can tell there's more than enough. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. And I think it's going to be an important thing for people to, especially in the first episode, we talked a lot about confidence. I think this one and identity and asking for more and believing that you deserve more, I think it's going to be important.
Yes.
So growing up, what kind of relationships did you see people around you have with money? How do you think that influenced you?
I grew up with a lot of fraud.
Okay.
Yeah,
the way you just said it, that's so casually. Like.
A lot of people in the ends were asking for squares. A lot of people, for those who are listening, are thinking, what is squares? People asking for credit cards to do fraud on. So I was literally getting so many messages in terms of BBN. And people would always ask for basically deets, squares, credit cards. So many people who I know who are blacklisted from banks right now because they got involved at 15 out of naivety. You know, you think you're going to make quick money. And some people were making quick money. They're making £500, like £700, imagine with 15, 16, and people are seeing money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People were going crunch. People were going up country, selling drugs. That was the type of environment that I was exposed to from a very early age. And in terms of money, I think we were taught to make things very quickly. And it's a revelation that I actually got very recently about growing up in ends and growing up in the type of areas that we grew up in terms of chicken and chip shops. When you think about it, in places like Peckham's, when you think about the Stratfords, I'm talking about Stratford pre-Westfield, by the way, Manor Parks, when you think about the Ilfords, the Canning Towns, Custom Houses, when you think about the Brixtons, there's so many fast food shops. Now, that actually impacts your view on money because basically you are taught things happen fast. You don't actually learn the power of process and you don't learn the power of patience. So you are basically taught if you want something quickly, you pay cheaply and you get something basically that's not necessarily nourishing, but you'll get it quick. So the fast foods are not nourishing, but it's quick. So you're basically taught money equals speed. It doesn't matter if it's good for you, just as long as you get it fast.
Okay.
And that's basically what I felt the relationship with money for me happened. I basically was taught, get money fast. It doesn't matter how you get it, just get it. And it was when I was around 18, when I started getting mentors and mentorship, and, you know, I started now being around a lot of entrepreneurs, and they basically always taught me about the power of integrity, patience. And I think that is basically what shifted my finances a little bit. Then I started obviously getting paid for speaking. I got my first paid speaking engagement when I was 17. I was £50. I got £50 when I was 17 for my first ever talk. And And then for a day's worth of speaking engagements, I got paid 1K when I was 18.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So you can imagine I started seeing money very quickly. And I spent that 1K an hour after.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At the age of 18. I didn't know how to handle money.
What did you spend it on?
Got a laptop.
Okay. That's not a bad spend.
It's not bad, but still.
It's quick, yeah.
It's like quick. It was just kind of like, and then I got into this habit of make money to spend, not make money to grow, not make money to invest, not make money to like, you know, shift things. It was more like money's to spend. And money is there to spend, but you have to be wise with how you spend the money. There has to be a return on investment. So yeah, that was kind of things that I had to learn myself. I didn't learn it initially.
Yeah. What made you like switch out from the whole make and then spend cycle?
I was broke. There was no money. There's no more money to spend.
Because there was no more money. You're like, what's going on? I'm working hard. I'm doing all this.
There was no more money to spend, so something had to shift.
Oh my God.
A lot of people that I had two business. I had a business before, so I actually for my 18th birthday, I registered my business.
I feel like you might have mentioned.
Yeah. So for my 18th birthday, I registered my first business, and then I had to dissolve it because I didn't know how to handle money in terms of business. Obviously, I'm working with schools. At that time, I was speaking to schools and I was getting paid thousands. And then when the tax man came, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And so I used to write letters to HMRC saying, sorry, like, please, like, let me go. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I think there was one, I think I told them I'm 18. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I wrote them a letter and they let me off. They let me off the first time. And then I got to another situation happened where I was like, I'm just going to dissolve this company because I don't know what I'm doing. Then I registered my second business when I was 21, when I felt like I went and I actually understood business now and understood a little bit about finance. Got myself an accountant, all of that when I was like 21 as well and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So do you think that's what helped, like getting an accountant to like help you? What was the things that you think that you put into practice which led you to not be broke again and you were like better? Getting
an accountant, I definitely would say understanding the language of money. Money is definitely a language. It's not just it's not just a byproduct. It's actually a language. It's actually, there's a way of thinking. There's a way you approach it. One of the things that I have found in terms of money is if you learn to be a highly valuable person, you'll never be broke again. If you learn how to actually use your value and turn it into assets and actually be valuable, it's not just even understanding you have value, but understanding that you're valuable, you will never be broke again. People throw money at you. I have people who literally are always asking me to coach them. I turn them down. I turn people down now because of the fact that people will always flock to whatever is valuable. When you think about someone like Tony Robbins, to be coached by Tony Robbins is a 10-year waiting list.
Probably, yeah.
It's true. It's not even probably. It's true. It's a 10-year waiting list to be coached by him. He has a 10-year waiting list.
10?
He's valuable.
Yeah.
People want to learn from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is one of the best in my industry. He's number one. So, yeah, of course. Eric Thomas is earning 6 figures a talk. He's valuable. And it's all about perceived value.
Yeah.
So that's something that I have learned. When you think about what's the difference between Louis Vuitton and what's the difference between something from Walmart and Asda, it has nothing to do with the product. It has everything to do with the brand.
Yeah.
It's perceived value. Because Louis Vuitton is now a luxury brand, the value automatically goes up. So anytime that you put something of value on some level, and that's why I'm so big on personal branding. Anytime that you put a valuable brand on a product, the price automatically goes up.
Yeah.
Literally, it automatically goes up. So it can be a t-shirt, it can be a jumper. As soon as you slap a Louis Vuitton, a Dior, a Cartier, a Hugo Boss, whatever the brand is, just because of the fact that there's a logo there, or just because there's a particular label there, you can add an extra 2 zeros or a 0.
Yeah.
Because of perceived value. And I just feel like when I understood value, when you are a valuable person, not only can you ask for more, you can want more.
Yeah.
Because you actually understand that, I'm a person of value. And I think for a lot of people, they might think that's a bit cocky, but it's just like, no, if you know your personal value, you can ask for.
Yeah.
You can ask for more.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because we have an interesting conversation coming up about that. I do really appreciate that. And because you are, like you said, your book really talks a lot about that personal brand, and you're somebody who's like built a personal brand. Running a business is tough. Invoices, receipts, tax deadlines, it never ends. I used to spend hours digging through spreadsheets and receipts just to figure out where my money was going, until I started using Xero. Xero completely supercharged how I manage my business finances. Before I was constantly second guessing my numbers, now everything's accurate and automatic. Invoices send themselves, payments sync with my bank, and I can see my cash flow in real time, all on a single platform. What I love is how simple it makes everything. Xero takes the stress out of bookkeeping, freeing up the time to focus on growing my business instead of being buried in admin. Xero even makes managing bills easier, showing what's due and when, so I can stay in control and avoid unnecessary late payment fees. And when it comes to tax season, everything's already organized and ready to share with my accountant stress-free. It's honestly like having a digital finance assistant that never sleeps. If you're trying to scale your business or just stay on top of your numbers, this is the software that could actually save you time and sanity. And because I use Xero myself, I've got something special for you. As of filming this podcast episode, you can get 90% off Xero for 6 months by visiting xero.com/savvy-wallet or clicking the link in the description, and start supercharging your business with Xero. I wanted to know from you, right? When did you first become aware of your own inner voice, that ongoing conversation that we all have with ourselves?
What do you mean in terms of like my own inner voice, in terms of like what, speaking?
Like your self-talk, yeah. Yeah.
I think when I was 18.
Okay.
When I was 18, when I wrote my first book. So this is my second book. This is my first published book. But I self-published a book when I was 18.
Okay.
And I wrote that book basically because I was journaling a lot when I was actually, when I was suicidal.
Okay.
So at age 18, I tried to take my own life multiple times. And writing got me through really dark periods. And I basically wrote letters to myself, things that I would want myself to remember to help me get out of that dark place. And that's what that first book is about. It's basically called The ABCs to Student Success, which is for any student that basically is going through mental health issues and basically needs an alphabet breakdown of basically how to overcome dark times. So the ABCs is basically the alphabet from A to Z of different things. Every basically letter comes with a different life lesson. So A is acceptance, B is this, C is that. And I basically wrote that. And published that when I was self-published it when I was 18.
Wow.
And that was how I had to develop self-talk, because I didn't have anybody. Well, I had a lot of friends, of course, but there would be a lot of times when I was in bed by myself, or it'd be the night, and I literally was in such a dark space. And something I do talk about actually quite a lot in the book is I talk about the most powerful voice you have is your inner voice. And how that voice actually shapes your destiny. That voice shapes your decisions. That voice shapes what you settle for in terms of life, business, relationships.
Yeah.
Like that voice is the most important voice. So you better invest in that voice. You better ensure that voice is healthy. You better ensure that voice is speaking life and love over you. One of the things that I am very, very happy about is I've learned to develop a very healthy inner voice. And because of the fact that I feel like sometimes these voices can be so unhealthy, you basically assume that, if somebody has a healthy inner voice, they can come across very cocky. It's not, no, they're just confident because they know who they are. They know who they are. And some people feel uncomfortable with it because a lot of people don't actually know who they are. A lot of people are not confident in themselves. A lot of people don't love themselves. But I'm very big on knowing who you are, whose you are, knowing exactly like the power of your inner voice. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate that. And like I said, I think it's so important. And what you were saying about writing, journaling, I think it's such a genius thing. A lot more people need to journal. Do you still journal till today?
Yeah, I journal quite a lot. I write quite a lot. Funny enough, so writing for me is very personal. So I write a lot. I actually first started writing, then I did speaking.
Okay.
So I actually started up with a motivational blog.
Right.
So before I started speaking. I started speaking properly. I took my speaking seriously properly when I was 17. But I actually started writing my blog when I was around 15, 16. Okay. So even though I'd done Young Mayor and even though I'd done that when I was 16, I was writing every single week for 2 years. Right. And I was able to grow my blog to over 75,000 views.
Oh my God.
When I was in sixth form.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, BBM. I had a baby BBM, so I literally would always promote my blog on my BBM. Like I would always get everyone to share it. I literally would get like 50 of my friends to share it amongst their friends on broadcast. So yeah, I was like proper on it. And and then it got to a time when I basically made my writing more private. And I actually had a blog just before I got married. Actually, I had a blog basically of all the things I wish that women, all the things that I like women should know before they get married, and basically things that I wish I knew sooner, basically. So I basically had a whole blog dedicated to basically things that I learned whilst I was engaged, healing from my daddy issues, basically in terms of like even preparing for sex, just all these taboo conversations, because obviously I'm a Christian and there was conversations I don't feel like we were having in the church. I was like, I'm going to blog about it. And there was just like a lot of people also about money and marriage, and how I was navigating that, come from a single parent household. So there was just a lot of things that I would write, and then I'd go into like speaking and a retreat. So when I was writing this book, I was actually really scared, because even though I write personally, like I write for myself. So I felt like it was a bit like, oh, you guys are going to see a different side of me, because this is a bit more of an intimate part of me. Like writing is very intimate for me. Yeah. So, and because writing is how I communicate often with God, it's a very intimate process. Yeah. So how I write and just how I like process, I normally process through writing. A lot of my friends know I hate phone calls. I hate phone calls and I hate voice notes.
Is it?
I'm a texter.
Okay.
I love
text. I'm becoming that now.
I love text.
I'm becoming that.
Even like person. Right now, I'm so grateful to iMessage. I'm so grateful to Instagram, Telegram, because you can transcribe now all the voice messages. I just need WhatsApp to jump on. But I love being able to read. I love reading. I love writing. Okay. So all my friends know that Hayley would type. I can type a whole paragraph. Yeah. I don't mind typing a paragraph.
Yeah. I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't mind. Okay. So
Mad.
Even just kind of writing that book and that process, it was just kind of like, oh wow, like people are going to get access to a side of me that, is quite intimate, but I felt like it was important to show that other side of me.
Yeah, I think it's important. When I was reminded that, obviously, I know this is your second book, but I was like, wow, like you're so multifaceted. Like you got the 2 books, before 30, and then you're a great speaker as well. It was amazing, honestly. So I wanted to ask you this, right? Because we're talking about like that inner voice, right? Why do you think then so many capable, intelligent people stay underpaid for years, even when they know they're worth more?
They don't believe they deserve more. You don't get the life you want, you get the life you settle for.
Okay.
A lot of people settle because a lot of people care too much what people think. They're kind of like, but what if they think I'm this? What if they think I'm that? I know that I irritate people. I know that people think that I do too much. I know. Like for my book launch, I went red. I became a redhead, literally. I went and got a red wig because I was just kind of like, why not? Like, why not for this book launch? I'm going to be literally a whole different color. Why not? Why not? Am I going to... But even when I was saying it to you, and I was just like, oh yeah, I went to Belgium for my second book launch. Yeah. People were like, you went to Belgium? Why? Why not? Like, I'm just like, why not? Why not put myself in... I literally said to my husband, as soon as 2025 hit, December 2025, I said, babe, I'm going to a global book tour next year. And I was like, we need to make money because we're going to self-fund it. And it's me self-funding it. I don't have any brand partnerships. I'll go and if brand partnerships, they want to come, listen, holla at your girl. But yeah, like when I hit down the work, put my head down, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go on a global book tour to let people know why not, have audacity. And, I think for me, I always thank my 15-year-old self for having the audacity because, she went into rooms that didn't look like her. Now I can say that I've worked with so many corporations, from Meta to Microsoft to the UK Cabinet Office to the government of Al Kuwait to Google, just so many different organizations. I've worked with over 50 corporations. And that was because there was a 15-year-old young black girl that believed that she was allowed to go into those rooms.
Yeah.
And I just didn't settle. So even when I wanted to do this book launch, I did my book launch in Barclays HQ. And the reason why I did that is because I remember telling myself growing up, people like us are not allowed there. People like us, we're not allowed in Canary Wharf.
Wow.
That was kind of what was insinuated, because I come from the neighbouring borough.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in Newham, but Canary Wharf is Tower Hamlets. But I'm literally, where I grew up was literally 4 minutes away from Canary Wharf. So we would see it all the time on the A13 when you're driving. We'd always see that building in terms of Barclays, Canary Wharf, or any of those Canary Wharf buildings. And it was very much like, when I was younger, yeah, we used to go down on school trips and stuff like that. But if we went on a school trip, certain people would look at us.
Yeah.
They'd look at us when we were there loud, going there. They would let us know, you lot are not allowed here. So I vowed to myself, when there comes a time when I have enough money, when I have enough notoriety, I will come back and I will shut this building down. And I shut it down for my book launch. I brought over 200 people into that building for my book launch. And the reason why was to show representation, because there was young black girls who were in that book launch, girls I coach, girls I mentor, and I'm letting them know you're allowed in these type of buildings. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're not allowed in these buildings. That's why representation matters.
Important. Wow.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I got so many follow-up questions. Okay, let me go through the first one.
Yeah.
The first one is, when you thought about doing your book launch, and I'm trying to also help people if they're thinking like, because, you know, as well as you having a positive inner voice, you have that negative. For that person where we were talking about, okay, you're not getting paid enough, they don't believe in themselves. Even though you say, okay, this is what I want to do, right? How did you kind of combat that other voice that's saying, no, why are you doing that? You can't do that.
Well, I got this famous quote and this famous saying that took me viral. You're too broke not to be visible. Literally wearing it on my jumper. Sometimes you have to look at your bank account. Sometimes just look at your bank account and know that, listen, you feeling sorry for yourself is not going to make that number any higher. The only thing that will take that number higher, you've got to have audacity and you've got to go after it. Feeling sorry for yourself is going to even make that number go lower. That's honestly the truth. The money is not going to get high if you feel sorry for yourself. You basically need to make the moves. So for anybody who's negative, okay, it's either your mind is negative or your bank account is negative. Pick one. You can't have both. You can't have both. And this is not even, because people could be like, oh, it's not always about money. Realistically, guys, one thing I always say, prayer moves the heavens and money moves the earth. So you have to either pick what negative you're going to be in. Is it going to be a negative mindset or bank account that's negative?
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I'm not having any.
Yeah.
So I just have to basically make a decision. And when you actually give yourself an ultimatum and basically be like, it's either you win or you win. And I think people give themselves too much of an option of plan B.
Yeah.
They're too reliant on plan B. I am a person of faith, so I always make that disclaimer. And I'll never forget, there was a time when I was reading the Bible and there's a story about a man called Peter. And basically, there's a story about a man called Peter when he meets Jesus. And Jesus basically tells Peter, cast your net onto the right side. Peter was fishing all day, fishing all night. He was tired. And literally, Jesus said to Peter, do you know what? Cast your net onto the right side. And even Peter was hesitant. But Peter cast his net onto the right side. And the Bible literally says that the amount of fish that Peter ended up having and receiving, the net nearly broke. The scripture actually says that the boat nearly sank. And there was a time when I was reading it and I felt like the Holy Spirit said to me, Hayley, so many people prepare for their failure, but a lot of people don't prepare for their breakthrough. Peter was not prepared for that fish. That's why the nets nearly broke. The nets nearly broke because he didn't have strong enough nets that can contain the fish that he was praying for. And I realized that, wow, Hayley, you have been preparing for your plan B that you didn't actually prepare if your plan A works. So what happens if you actually really do win? What happens if you really do blow? Yeah. What happens if this book really takes you out of the hood? Like, I've started now having preparation for my breakthrough.
Okay.
So I don't now just prepare for if things go wrong. I'm just kind of like, but what if things go right? What if you fall? What if you fly? What if you fly and you go business class and then you go first class? What happens?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people basically don't prepare for the place they're praying to arrive. And I was just kind of like, hells, you basically got to start preparing for your breakthrough. And that's basically the mentality I have now. I'm always preparing for basically God's best.
Okay. So you're saying that people, and to be fair, you're right. Whenever we do think about doing things, you're right. It's like, what's the backup plan? Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I think like that. Yeah. And actually, honestly, you're right. Why don't you dream? Let's dream
It's
again.
free.
Like we were younger, right?
It's literally
Like, dream.
free. And I find that with a lot of people, the reason why they don't dream is simply because of the fact that it's quite, I think, I don't think people fear failing. I think people fear failing in front of others.
Yeah.
That's what people fear. They're like,
other people's opinions.
What if this doesn't bang? But listen, one thing I'll tell you, I failed many times, Atto, but I'm not a failure. I become a failure when I decide that I am.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have told themselves they're a failure. And something I always say is that failing is an experience. Failure is not a person.
Yeah.
You only make it a person when you decide you're that person. Just because you fail, it does not mean you're a failure. And I think there's a lot of people who have made failure very personal and they've been stuck there. And I think they're embarrassed. But there's something that even Amma said. And she said that, you know, in order for you to be great, there's the cost of embarrassment.
Yeah.
You will embarrass yourself. I was speaking, 15, 16, 17, 18, all my early footage, Atto. I'm a young, squeaky voice. Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm going to pattern up. You lot need to... That's how I used to speak. I'll speak with a lot of slang.
Yeah.
Before then, I had a heavy potty mouth. Used to swear a lot. But over the years, I became more refined. Over the years, I started reading more. Over the years, my vocabulary increased. Over the years, I became more palatable. Over the years, I learned how to code switch. Over the years, I understood how to speak across different nations because I travel internationally. Over the years, I learned how to speak with translators. Because it's one thing being able to be a great speaker, it's another thing being able to speak with a translator. Because you have to be able to have such a confidence in your talk that every sentence you have to stop so the translator can translate. So these are the things that I learned over the years. I'm not going to know that at the age of 16 how to speak with a translator. I'm not going to know at the age of 16 how to slow down when you're speaking to ESOL students or ESOL people where English is their second language. You're not going to know how to do that. You're not going to know how to communicate to those type of people. But you don't have to be great in order to start, but you have to start in order to be great.
Yeah. And this is a very important thing. And thank you so much for saying the identity, because it moves us into our next section that you said that you failed, but that's not your identity.
Yeah.
Your identity is what you decide it should be. And I think that's a very important thing for people. It's like, what's the identity that you want to have? Is this the identity of where you are now? Is that what you envisage for your life? Or are you dreaming of somewhere beyond? And for you, you know what's so crazy actually? I don't know where I saw this, right? Because obviously I follow your YouTube channel, but I saw even a picture or video of you young.
Yes.
I was like, raw, Hayley's come from far.
I've got a lot of footage of me when I'm young.
But you had the audacity. And I was like, wow, like it was amazing to see, because you were like a younger person speaking, but you were in a room full of people like, you did it anyway. Do you know what? You look confident.
I don't think, do you know what the crazy thing is? I told half of my career, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I would even say 90% of my career, I don't know what the hell I was doing. Up until last year, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Up until last year, I didn't even know what my message was. Up until the book launch, I felt like God told me what my message was. And it's the power of audacity.
Yeah.
I didn't know what my message was. I was doing so many messages. I have so many keynotes. Gosh, I've done D&I. I've done mental health. I've done confidence. I've done motivational speaking. I've done so many different types of keynotes for different organizations. And it was only this year, 2026, 13 years in the game, I was like, Hayley, that's your message. Speak up. Audacity. Basically, you don't get the life you want. You get the life you settle for. I only just really, and you know what the crazy thing is? You don't discover your message, you live it. I had to reflect, Hayley, what has the words of your life spoken that even words can't speak louder than it? My life has been a message of audacity.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Hayley, that's your message. And I only just realised it literally a week ago.
Yeah. Huh. Look at it. And is culminated in the book as well.
Yeah, literally. In the book. Even in terms of, funny enough, the book, when I first got my publishing offer for this book, I had a complete different title.
What was it?
It was a complete different title. It was basically one of my keynotes. I was going to put my keynote into a book. And then after some time of prayer, brainstorming, I just was like, nah, this book needs to be called Speak Up. And I have like courses, coaching, and all of them are under the name Speak Up. And I was like, nah, this book needs to be called Speak Up. And I was just like, fair. Okay, cool. And then I went back to them. I was like, actually, this book needs to be called Speaker. As like literally, I will show you the contract after. The initial contract I received, that was not actually the name of the book. Yeah,
that's crazy. One thing I've learned from traveling is this: the most expensive mistakes on a trip usually happen in the first couple of minutes after landing. You turn on your phone, take it off flight mode, messages start coming through. You book a taxi to your hotel, and without realizing, you've just triggered daily roaming charges. And that's the travel tax nobody warns you about. Because when you're tired, carrying bags, and just trying to get to your hotel, you'll pay whatever it takes to get connected. That's why whenever I travel, I always make sure I'm using an eSIM. It means my phone works the moment I need it for messages and getting around without hunting for Wi-Fi or worrying about surprise charges. That's what led me to partner with Saily. Saily offers one of the simplest ways to get an affordable eSIM. Built by the team behind NordVPN, they offer affordable data plans across 200 plus destinations, helping you stay connected and avoid hefty roaming charges. Saily is incredibly fast to set up. I downloaded the app, picked a data plan, and activated the eSIM in seconds. Just like that, I was connected to the internet. Speeds were excellent and everything worked exactly as I needed, from video streaming to browsing the web. And the best part with Saily is that you can set up your data plan before you fly. So when you land, you're not scrambling for Wi-Fi or making expensive last-minute choices. Download Saily in the App Store or by scanning the QR code on screen. Use code SavvyWallet at checkout to get 15% off your first purchase. The details are in the podcast episode description box. So I wanted to ask you, right, like we talked about the inner voice, but the way I feel is without that action, you don't actually become that person that you need to be. So how can people move from that inner voice to like actually making positive like financial decisions and choices, especially if you talk about yourself as well?
Yeah, one of the things I'm very big on is proximity is power. Proximity is power. Get around people who are doing it well. So if you want to basically improve in the area of finance, you want to improve in the area of fitness, you want to improve in the area of, I don't know, cooking, who around you is doing it well and learn from them. I remember when I moved to Dubai, one thing about Dubai, you will eat. You will eat. There is so many motives with food. Brunch, lunch. There was times when I've done brunch twice in a day. You do breakfast once, you do brunch across twice, then you do, it's too much. So I got to a point I was like, yeah, okay, hell's like, you need to get your fitness. You need to go back to the gym. Looking. And then some person was posting that Perry Shake Straight and was in Dubai. And I was just like, how cool would it be if I had an ex-Olympian be my personal trainer? And I asked her, I was just like, can you PT me? She was like, yeah, cool. Sent me her packages. I was like, yeah, boom. Like literally within 24 hours, I booked her as my PT. Because if I want to improve and I want to take my fitness seriously, I need to basically get the best in that area. And literally me and Perry are training 3 times a week.
That's a lot. I love it.
Yeah, it's intense. And she literally messaged me like every other day, holding me accountable. Why? Because I'm paying her to hold me accountable. Right? So that's the most important thing. Like my husband is a great marketer. My husband is literally the person that more or less stands behind my brand. And my husband is literally the go-to in terms of marketing, the go-to in terms of short form content. And I actually learned from my husband. I actually told my husband, teach me everything that you are trying to do for my brand. Teach me so I think the way you think. And it got to the point where literally, even though I still don't necessarily handle my brand per se, because I have a whole team behind my brand, people will come to me and they'll basically be like, Hayley, I want to do this. And I could be like, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. They're like, how the hell do you know that? I'm like, my husband. And because it's a language, now I understand the language of marketing. I understand the language of branding. I understand the language of speaking. I understand the language of fitness now. I understand the language of business. Like all these things were languages I learned from proximity. I've got a lot of girls that I mentor, funny enough, actually in Belgium, and they speak French, right? I'm not the best at French. I just about got a C, just about scrapped a C. I don't know how the hell I got a C, right? But I bust a C in GCSE for French. And one of the things I always say to the girls is, okay, I want to improve my French, speak to me French. So literally straight away, as soon as I pick up the phone, I'm like, bonjour, ça va, bien? Like literally I'm speaking to them in French and they will correct me. Every single time when I try and say something, they'll correct me. Simply because of the fact that if I want to improve the language, I must be constantly speaking it. And I find that a lot of people need to understand if they want to basically improve in the language, they must engross themselves in that environment. So I travel a lot to now Belgium. I listen to French speaking things. Like I listen to things so that I can basically get used to the environment of the language, because proximity is power. And that's something that I learned from Tony Robbins actually.
Okay, that's amazing. And for that person that's listening, watching and saying, okay, but how do I get this proximity for me, especially if it's like somebody that they feel is a bit of out of reach for them?
Nothing's out of reach. There's the internet.
True.
There's the internet. Okay, you might not know me. Watch every single podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know Tony Robbins. I read his book.
I've been watching Tony Robbins and Eric Thomas from young.
Listen, let me tell you the story about me and E.T.
Yeah.
So Eric Thomas is the forward of my book. Eric Thomas is the number one motivational speaker in the world. I came across E.T. when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
I came across E.T. when I was 15 years old on YouTube. As bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
Yeah.
I came across that. The guru story. I was like, damn, who's this guy so powerful? Then I religiously started watching Eric Thomas. Thank God it's Monday.
Yeah, I was watching that too.
It's your boy E.T. What up, what up, what up? And I'd be listening to him religiously, listen to him in the gym, listen to him on the way to school, listen to him in sixth form, listen to him when I was doing my A-levels. I would listen to him religiously. 2016, I found out that he's coming to London. Saved up money and I got the cheapest ticket. I just wanted to be in the room. I was right at the back. And at the time, Sully Breaks was sharing the stage with him. Sully Breaks was also on the lineup. So I reached out to Sully. I knew somebody who knew Sully and I said, I need to connect to Sully. I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to be on the lineup with E.T. Like, I'd love to connect with you and stuff like that. Me and Sully got locked in from then. E.T. came to the stage, spoke, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want to meet this guy. Saved up. 2 years later, I flew myself to Philadelphia by myself to go to one of his masterminds in Philadelphia when I was 20. Got a VIP ticket, did a meet and greet. I gave him my first book.
Okay.
I gave E.T. my first book. I signed it and I came and said, you're going to know who I am. And he came and said, okay. That happened in 2018. I kept going to listen to him. He would do some online conferences, webinars, Instagram lives, YouTube lives. I'd always be on. I wouldn't even comment. I'd always be on just learning. Then 2023, a mentee of mine who I had been coaching and speaking was like, sis, I'm about to go to America. There's a conference that E.T. Inky's speaking at. And I want to be in the room. And I was like, oh, cool, bro. Like, God bless, enjoy, innit? I was like, I literally said to him, let me know how you find it. It was actually a pretty expensive conference, I'll be honest. It was like, for each ticket, it was like 3K.
Whoa, yeah. And
I was just like, yeah, enjoy, man. Like, it was January, literally, this was January 2nd of 2023. I was just like, yeah, man, enjoy it. Nah, 2024. And I was just like, oh yeah, enjoy it. And then I was telling my husband about it. I was just like, oh yeah, like, babe, Rob, his name's Rob. Rob's going to this conference. Like, I told him, like, I was telling him, like, E.T.'s going to be there. Only 200 people in the room. This. And then Sterling turned to me and said, why are you not there? I was like, huh? He was like, Hayley, as long as I've known you, you have always wanted to be mentored by Eric Thomas. I know you know how to work a room of 200 people. Look at the tickets. How much are the tickets? When I booked the tickets to Atlanta, and then last minute, my husband was like, I want to come now because I want to see exactly why you love this man so much. We spent £10,000
wow
to go to that conference, inclusive of 2 tickets, 2 return flights. We got the VIP ticket, we got the highest ticket, so we could be in private rooms, so I could work the rooms. Me and Sterling, when I tell you we had a strategy, boom, babe, you work that room, okay, but the main aim was E.T. I went to E.T. actually at that conference and I said to him, can I take a picture? He was actually on the way out. He was like, yeah, quick one, I'm about to go out. And I said to him, you've never raised up a London speaker. All your rosters of speakers that you basically are raising up and you're mentoring, they're all American. You don't have a British speaker yet. I'm going to be the British speaker. He said, okay, that's what they all tell me. I said, I know what I'm talking about.
That's
and literally there's that. I connected with CJ that day as well. And I invested into more of their programs. So literally I was going back and forth from America. I went to America 6 times that year.
Wow.
I was hungry. You don't get the life you want, you get the life you settle for.
Yeah.
I was hungry. End up even doing a weekend in Mexico with them at the mastermind. Learning from E.T., learning from them. Just so they can see me. And also the reason why I went and done it in America is because I'm the only British accent.
Yes.
So they're going to remember me.
Yeah, you stand out. Yeah.
So I made sure I was standing out. I made sure that I'd wear particular ouds because I always wear ouds. So you'd smell me and you'd hear me. So I'd wear the ouds and everyone would be like, oh my gosh, these don't know me for my ouds. Literally, they all have ouds now because I'll go and I literally give them ouds. And then they knew me for my British accent. So I basically made sure I was in a place where my highest advantage is I'm standing out. So it literally got to the point where they were like, listen, we want to collaborate with you. We want to come to London. So that's when I brought them over to London in 2024. at that event is where I came and said, you're too broke not to be visible. Whole thing went viral. At that time, ET basically saw how hungry I was and how dedicated I was. That's when it was kind of like, yeah, I'll take him under my wing.
Okay.
Then a few weeks after that is when, obviously, funny enough, I already had my book deal, but I hadn't had my forward yet. And we would only just build a relationship. And I was just kind of like, I'm just going to ask him. I'm just going to shoot my shot. And I just literally messaged him. And I was just kind of like, this might be like a huge ask, but for my forward, like, would you mind doing it? He was just like, yeah, of course. Like, no doubt. Like, the fact that you asked, of course. And he's been so supportive for the book, so supportive in terms of pushing it, in terms of even when we did a visibility series, he was my closing person that came on promoting the book. He's just been so supportive. Wow. But I think I don't want to put words in his mouth, but let me not speak for him. Let me speak for life. I think life will reward you when you're audacious enough to try and get it. I
think that too. I agree. I think I was just like so in awe of the story, because I think why I was so in awe is because it goes back to what you said. You're audacious enough to try and you gave it a go, not knowing what will happen.
Yeah.
There was no guarantees in everything that you did. And
but I also planted the seeds.
Exactly.
Because he probably doesn't know it. He's actually, I don't actually know if he's still got my first book. Yeah. I gave him my first book in 2018.
Exactly.
It's 2026.
But you did that. You went to that. Some people would have been like, okay, I'm just stop there. I can't ever get in touch with this person.
Yeah.
And that's where you stop, right?
And this is where, in terms of money, I'm the type of person that, money is a tool. When it's used right, it can open great doors for you. Yeah. Money will never give you happiness, personally. I personally believe that only God can give you happiness. But money can give you happy moments and give you the opportunity to encounter happy moments. Yeah. And I think that for me, I basically have vowed that I'm always going to use my money to basically put me at an advantage. So, as I said, I invested with that year alone more than 10K. That was just the event. You can imagine going back and forth. Yeah. I'm going to masterminds in Mexico. I'm going back and forth from the UK to the US. And that was also the time I'm also going back and forth to Dubai as well. So I went to Dubai about 7 times that year. I went to America like 6 times that year. And then I went to Mexico. I went to Uganda. 2024, I was on a flight every 3 weeks. Oof. I was on a flight every 3 weeks. Wow. People were not seeing me.
Wow.
But I was so hungry for it. So there's certain people who are seeing me now in 2026. They're kind of like, oh my gosh, you got this book. You're going on a tour. You're going on this. I was just kind of like, I've been doing it. It's just that I didn't have a camera at the time. Now I'm more visible. Now I've got vlogs, and now you can see me doing all of that. I'm just kind of like, guys, I've been about this. I was doing a university book tour, my first book. 2016, I did 26 universities in 6 weeks.
Yeah, you got the hunger and passion.
I've been about this. Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is that when people get older, I think they just become more conscious of people's opinions. Yeah. It's not that I don't think it's that they get less hungry. I think they become more conscious of like more people watching them. Yeah. But I don't watch that. Like, I know people watching me, but the truth is God is watching me as well. And I focus on that. I focus on the fact that I have a God that I'm going to answer to at the end of my life. And I also have, I don't have children yet, but I would like to believe that, I want my children to be proud of me. I have a husband. I want my husband to be proud of me. I've got a mum. I've got my brothers. I've got people around me that I'm setting a standard for. I've also got young black girls from Ends who are watching me. Like, I've got girls that I've met and they've shown me pictures of their room, and I'm literally on their wall. I'm on their wall. I'm on their dream boards. I'm on their vision boards. And that's when it started hitting me that I'm like, I'm on people's vision boards. People who want to be speakers. They look at me and they're kind of like, okay, Hayley's somewhat a standard, or Hayley shows me there's a possibility. And it's like, I can't settle. I want to be making sure. I've got some of my mentees who are like 17 from the ends. I'm bringing them into particular rooms. And I've always said to them, I want to make sure that, I've always said that I want to be their floor, innit? I want to make sure that it's a damn high floor. I am not their ceiling, but I want to be making sure that when they're building off me, it's the 30th floor. And I've always said this, Val, when you name drop my name, if someone says that they're mentored by Hayley Mulenda Records, when they name drop my name, that door's gonna fly open. Yeah. And that is one of the reasons why I'm working the way that I'm working. You come and drop someone like Michelle Obama's name, trust, the whole thing is shutting down. Yeah. You come and say Michelle Obama's your mentor. You come and say this person's your Oprah Winfrey, or you say particular names in particular industries. And I think some people should aim for that. Like, your name should carry weight. You can say that Stormzy is your certain doors will open up for you if you start name dropping certain people. Yeah. And I think that some people want to be the name droppers. They don't want to be the name. Yeah. Because to be the name, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to be the name. People find it easier. Let me just name drop. Let me just be Stormy's friend. Let me just be Oprah Winfrey's PA. Let me just name drop the person. And I'm just kind of like, God, I never want to be the name dropper. I want to be the name.
Yeah.
I want to be the person that, by the grace of God, I'm the key. And I'm the person that is helping open up doors.
Yeah.
And that's why, I've got to speak up.
Yeah. And actually because this is the identity you built for yourself. So how can somebody build, especially like if we go to like wealthy, how can somebody go from that inner voice to a wealthy identity and actually making sure this is what they build? They actually build that identity. Not that they're the person who, as I mentioned before, they're brilliant. They can do things. They're not earning as much, but they now become the person that earns that much, that transformation.
Habits. What's your habits? Habits. I'll always say that success leaves clues. Find the habits of very successful people. So some of the habits that I found about successful people is they are heavy readers.
Yeah.
So I had to get into reading from a very young age. Heavy readers. Number 2, they are heavy in the area of fitness. I know many successful people that don't play in the area of fitness. Number 3, they have some level of counsel.
Yeah.
They either have a coach, they either have a mentor, they have people around them. One of my favorite books actually is $1 Billion Coach by $1 Billion Coach, and it's by it's the guys who oversee Google, and they wrote the book. I can't remember the author's name. It's 3 authors that wrote it, and they were all coached by Bill Campbell. And Bill Campbell was also the guy who coached Steve Jobs. He was the person that also coached the CEO of Uber. He's the one who also coached Bill Gates. He basically was the coach for the Silicon Valley legends. Okay. And that book changed my life because I basically said, God, I want to be the Bill Campbell of my generation. Like, I don't actually want to be the person who's just like the star. No, I want to be the person who's like coached and actually like helped raise up some of the icons coming from the UK or from the Middle East or from Africa, from the US, wherever they are. And I understood that, success leaves clues. So I started reading into Bill Campbell. I studied successful people. Habits leave clues. Success leaves clues. So I would say find a person of study as well. Study people. Study people who are doing well in your industry. What are they doing? What are they watching? Understand their psychology. What podcasts do they listen to? Listen to their podcasts. What books are they reading? What music do they listen to? Like, get into their habits. Like, create that environment for yourself, because I'm really big on greenhouses, right? And what I mean by greenhouses in terms of, greenhouse is basically a climate within a climate. Right. So if I want to I'm half Ugandan. So we have something called matoke. Matoke is a green banana. And I know that I can't grow matoke in the UK because it doesn't have the soil and the climate. It doesn't have the air. But a greenhouse, you can literally create a Ugandan climate within the UK. That's literally what a greenhouse is. Yeah. You can create your own climate within a climate. And I basically learned to create a climate within a climate. I was like, okay, I come from the ends. I come from a single parent household. Okay, I come from a place where there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of gang, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of fraud. And I was like, Hayley, create the greenhouse within the ends. And I basically created the greenhouse by studying all these people. What do all these successful people do? What do they listen to? Where did they go? And I started putting myself in these events. When E.T. was speaking, when Tony Robbins was speaking, I'd take myself to Tony Robbins. I'd save up money, go to these environments, meet new people, network. It's one of the reasons why I moved to Dubai. I moved to Dubai because I was just like, I want to put myself in another environment where I'm meeting people. It has nothing to do with me being like, Habibi, come to Dubai and making Arab money. But no, it had everything to do with my network. Had everything to do with exposing myself to a new type of people. Yeah. And that's always what I've been doing from a young age. I've been traveling. Even when I was 19, I moved myself to America for 3 months to work at summer camp, just so I could be in America and so I could meet young people in America. Yeah. And I still talk to some of the girls that I was their camp counselor when I was 19.
This is... Honestly, like, I'm feeling so motivated. I know the watchers and listeners are feeling motivated. And no, every time I speak to you, I always enjoy the conversation so much. I feel like I could speak to you like for hours. I wanted to know from you, right?
Yes.
Like, so you talked about like reading books a lot. You talked about proximity. What would you say are some of the key self-talks, identity you had that's enabled you to now you said it's not even 6 figures, it's 7 figure, to be able to build a 7-figure business from your perspective?
I definitely would say number one, partnership and collaboration. Okay. So one thing I'm grateful for is that I collaborated with my husband, who's an amazing business owner, an amazing director. We are business partners. So my husband is very much on the CGO side. So he's the chief growth officer of the business. Obviously I'm the talent, but obviously I do quite a lot of operations still. I do quite a lot of like HR stuff because we got a team. But there's still a lot that we balance. Sterling's got his part and I've got my part. And I've understood that I can't cross Sterling and Sterling can't cross me. But we both need each other. Power of collaboration. We have a team of 6. So even being able to have a team of 6. So we have someone who oversees my social media. We have someone who oversees my admin. We have someone who oversees my community. We have people who oversee my B2C. We have people who oversee my graphics. We have people who oversee my video content. We've got different teams. I even have someone who's my protocol. So someone who literally she comes with me to events. So she literally comes with me for events. Like she's kind of like my security in a way, but she's my protocol. I call it protocol. Like I've got different people for different parts of my team. And I can't do all of that. I can't do my admin. Like I need to let my admin do my admin. Even though I'm good at admin, I started off in admin. I can do my social media content, but I got to let people do my social media content. I can video edit, but I need to let the video editor edit. Yeah. So you have to understand the power of collaboration and you need to let people work their field and work their place. Number 2, don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of people have pride. One thing about me, you should know me, I'm a beg friend. I'll beg. Like I'm very inquisitive. My mum has always told me, even when it came to parents' evening, they always say Hayley is very inquisitive. And that's how I learned what the word is. I asked Miss, what does inquisitive mean? It means, Hayley, you always ask questions. Always be willing to ask questions. Ask people for help. I would say number 3, in terms of something that people can do, as I said, is you've got to learn the power of no. You've got to understand the power of boundaries. You have to understand the power of sacrifice. There's some things you cannot eat. There's some things you cannot do. There's some places you cannot go. I'm not always outside. Even when I'm in Dubai, I'm the most antisocial person. Not because I think I'm better than anybody, because I'm in my building phase. And you have to understand times and seasons. There's some seasons where you will not be outside. There's some seasons where you have to sacrifice. There's some seasons where you have to say no. There's some seasons where you're going to have to be outside. There's some seasons where I'm outside networking. When I first went to Dubai in 2023, I was out. We went there for 3 months because we didn't have our visa. So we went there for the 3 months period. I was outside every single day networking at home. Every single day for 90 days, I was outside. I was outside. Now I'm in a season where I don't have to be outside every day because I did that 3 years ago in 2023. So I find that for a lot of people, they basically don't understand the power of seasons. Discern your seasons. And I'll say lastly, prepare for your breakthrough. Have vision. Have a dream. Have something you're working towards. I think a lot of people, as I said, they settle. And I think I'll end it here. I think about a lot of people. I speak to a lot of older people and I like to do interview type conversations. I like to ask a lot of questions, inquisitive. And one of the things that I find is a lot of people who they get shocked by their life, but they understood it's because they didn't take their life with 2 hands. Pardon me. There's some people who just sat in the passenger seat and just let the car drive.
Wow.
Then when the car crashes, they were like, oh my gosh. It's like that's when they wake up like, oh my gosh, damn, I should have taken control of the wheel.
Yeah.
But you just sat there in the passenger seat, just coasting by, thinking that things were going to come to you, thinking that things were just going to get better. That's why I came and said, like what I said earlier, okay, you have a negative mindset, but that's going to keep your bank account negative. That's the truth. If you're passive rather than active, things don't shift. Yeah. You have to be able to be reactive sometimes. You have to be able to understand that you got to grab life with 2 hands. And I find that there's just a lot of people sometimes that are too laid back and then they get upset when something crashes. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how this got here. I didn't know how I get. No, you do know how you got there. That's the truth.
We all do. We're responsible,
right? We're all responsible.
We're responsible ultimately.
You got to be responsible. Yeah. You know how you got there. Yeah. And I find that there's a lot of people who are not willing to have those honest conversations with yourself. Maybe because I'm very self-reflective. I do a lot of like self-talk, have a lot of conversations. I journal a lot. I'm very like, I think the word is introspective. I think the word is like, I'm very much looking into myself a lot of the times. And I have to, because I'm somewhat, I don't want to say necessarily a public figure, but I think when you have some level of, I don't know, exposure in the public eye.
You're a public figure in my eyes. Yeah, I would say it.
I guess when you have some level of kind of exposure to the public, you have to be a bit more conscious of what you say, because, you know, you don't want to trigger particular people, but also some people will fight you. The amount of people who come fight me about certain things. Even today, I had to delete something on my thingy because people were fighting me, and I just said, please, I told my team delete it. Sometimes you just have to go back and forth with people. But then at the same time, it's not even that I just delete it to think it. I look back and I'm like, okay, what did I say that could have been wrong?
Yeah.
What did I say? Oh, maybe I should have said this better. Oh, maybe I need to word. So I even said delete this. I'm going to re-upload it, but I'm going to word it better. So I have to be somebody that's constantly always thinking. Okay. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So, you know, like you said, you've gone to Dubai. You as a speaker, you've met so many people. I wanted to know from you, right?
Yeah.
That wealthy identity, what do you think that is? What does that look like to you?
Confidence.
Okay.
Confidence in yourself. Yeah. Confidence in your value. Confidence what you bring to the table. One of the things I always say is don't pray to be at a table and you don't know why you're there. Yeah. You'll be a liability. Yeah. Why are you at the table? And you're questioning, oh my gosh, what if I literally have one of my favorite chapters actually in this book is actually You Are Not an Imposter. Yeah. And it's basically, let me actually read it. Sorry. I've actually got it. It's chapter 3. It's one of my favorite things. It starts with a quote that I really, really love. Michelle Obama. Okay. You can be the most qualified people in the room you can be the most qualified person in the room and still feel like you don't belong. That doesn't make you a fraud. It makes you human.
100%.
And I love this chapter was basically talking about the fact that, you know, you're not an imposter. And when you start to accept that you are an imposter, you will start getting into rooms and you'll start questioning why you're there. Yeah. And even though it makes you human, it still doesn't mean it's right. You have to understand that your mind can lie to you. And you have to learn to reframe your mind. You have to learn to reframe the voice and the things you are telling yourself. And you're not an imposter. Yeah. And you have to basically be confident in yourself. I honestly don't believe that competence is the reason why people are rich. There's something that Lamide Elizabeth said, which is true. And she said that D students are hiring A students.
It's true. People, dropouts. University dropouts. Yeah. Some of them are billionaires.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's competent. It has everything to do with the fact that they're confident. There's a lot of people, I'll be honest, I know a lot of multimillionaires. I know actually quite a few billionaires. And they are normal human beings, but they are confident in what they bring to the table. What? Especially like my billionaire people, they know what they are doing. Yeah. They know, and they are focused on what they are meant to do. They're not trying to do 100 things. They're like, this is my lane and I'm going to be a beast at it. I'm going to be the best at it. And I find that there's a lot of people who, as I said, they're not confident in what they bring to the table. Yeah. And you just have to be confident.
Yeah. And actually, I want to ask you this question, right? Because I think this is important, right? I told you that I was looking at a YouTube channel and I saw that you as a young person, you know, speaking in a room, you know, you as a young black girl speaking in a room, probably full of, you know, older white people, right? How did you make that difference work for you?
They're humans. They're humans. Yeah. I think a lot of people always think about the difference, but a lot of people don't see the similarity. We all have life. We all have breath. We all have mental health. We all have grief. Exactly. We all have emotions. Okay, you're white, you're Asian, I'm black. So we've all cried at one point. We all experienced pain at one point. We've all had to say, I love you at one point. We've all had to do something we don't want to do at one point. So I find this similarity. I don't focus on our differences. I focus on where we may actually be the same. Yeah. And I think that's been the foundation of my career.
Yeah. And I think is why you've been at success. Because I was like, honestly, like when I saw that, I was like, wow, like you're killing. You don't even know. You know, sometimes when somebody's doing something young and they're so confident in themselves, and you're like, wow, like you don't even like looking back, you don't even know how you are to other people. You don't know on the outside. Honestly, I was just like, wow, like this is crazy. I think people limit themselves a lot, and like you say, it's all in their mind. Enjoying this conversation? Drop a comment with your favorite moment. Give this video a like and hit subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Thanks for being part of the journey. We've got plenty more valuable conversations coming your way. So I wanted to talk about about this, right? How important is personal branding today when it comes to opportunity and income? And how can people move past the fear of being judged when they start building an online presence?
You're too broke to not be visible. Visibility is everything in this world. Visibility is a currency. Whether people like it or not, visibility is a currency. When you think about particular people in terms of, okay, I will do this quick game with you. When you think about Kris Jenner, what name do you think?
What?
Kris Jenner.
What name?
Yeah, what
Jenner?
Kris Jenner. What do you think straight away?
Like known, very well known.
Yeah.
Mogul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. When you think KFC, what do you think?
Fried chicken.
Chicken. Right.
Fried chicken.
When you think Richard Branson, what do you think?
Biz entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur virgin.
Right. Yeah. There's an association for all of these people.
Yeah.
But if I come and say, what do you think about Tom Tarker?
I don't know.
You don't know him.
Yeah.
You don't know him.
Yeah.
And that is what happens. The power of personal brand is the power of association. As soon as somebody thinks Virgin, Richard Branson, as soon as someone thinks Kardashian, Kris Jenner, as soon as someone thinks Speaking, Hayley Mulenda, as soon as you basically put particular names out there, you basically now are associated with that thing. The reason why I'm booked and busy in area speaking is because I've been the most visible speaker. I'm not the best speaker. I'm not the best speaker. I'm the most visible speaker in the UK. I'll tell you that for free.
Yeah.
I'm the most visible speaker from the UK. I don't even live here anymore. And I still get called back to the UK. I hope I challenge speakers to be more visible. I'll wait. Comment below a speaker that is more visible than me. And I'm not cocky.
I don't know. Not in the UK. I don't know.
I know, but I have a whole talk talking about you're too broke not to be visible. I have to double down visibility. And it's kind of like, it's like Muhammad Ali. It's like all these, it's like Usain Bolt. Listen, he knew no one's going to touch me in terms of that world record. He understood that, listen, if I want to be the best, I've got to basically go for the world record. Yeah. And personal branding is everything. You basically, one thing about personal branding for Usain Bolt, he done this at the end of the thing. That became his brand. Like, that's what basically branding is you do something that you now become known for. So now everyone was doing this when they saw Usain Bolt because it became part of his brand, right? Shelly-Ann Fraser, her hair, part of her brand. Everyone, do you know what the crazy thing is about Shelly-Ann Fraser? I love Shelly-Ann. People didn't just wait. People weren't just waiting for her to run. People were waiting to see what hair she was going to do. People were always looking for, what is Shelly-Ann's hairstyle going to be? Because she always used to come out. When it came to her races, she always would come out with particular hairstyles. That was her brand. Yeah. So there was now when you think about it, if a hair brand wants to give Shelly-Ann a 6-figure, they're going to Shelly-Ann. If they're like, we need to find an athlete, or we need to find a personal brand that we can give a 6-figure thingy to, we're going to do that. Or someone's like, okay, we need a particular gear, we're going to give it to Usain Bolt so that you can pose like this in a gear. Does that make any sense? Like, personal branding basically allows you to have a certain level of like je ne sais quoi. It allows you to basically stand out in a world that has a lot of noise. Like, visibility basically cuts things through. And I'm just very big on, like, you have nothing to lose by being visible. People's lives have changed because of visibility. Look at Kai Cenat. You think his life has been this? Do you think Kai Cenat's life has been the same since he basically started streaming?
Nope. Different.
Look at Drewski. Guy is making comedy every Mr. Beast. All of these people, guys, the only thing that they did differently to you is they decided to double down visibility. Yeah. That's the only thing. Kai Cenat basically said, I'm going to stream every day. Speed basically said, I'm going to stream. So did Mr. Beast. All of these people basically said, I'm just going to be visible. From the Sidemen to the KSIs, all they said is, I'm going to be visible. Chunks, visible. Nella, visible. Because I don't want to feel customer because I can think about all the British people. Mario Musa, visibility. Adiola Patron, visibility. These are all the people that just said, I'm going to be visible. I'm going to pick up the mic, pick up a camera, and I'm going to start filming. Patricia Bright, visibility. These are all the people that basically said, I am willing to be visible, and look at their careers now. Look at what they're doing now. Visibility is always going to make you stand out amongst the noise.
And how can people ignore that noise then of, caring about what people
Focus
think?
on yourself. Don't compare. Comparison will drown you. Focus on your message. Focus on yourself. I'm not watching other people. I'm not watching other people. If I'm ever watching someone else, it's because I'm studying them. That's what I'm doing. I don't watch other people to compare. I watch them to study. So I'm always looking at people. I'm like, oh, they said that. Oh, I need to. Oh, they got that camera. That's what I do. I study. I learn to take lessons from everyone who is great. And I told you, I'm a big friend. When I think someone's doing great, I'll slide into your DMs and I'll give you your flowers. I'll be like, yo, you done this, I done like da-da-da-da. Like I literally was speaking to Mara Musa this morning. I was like, sis, you're doing amazing. Like I will pick up your ting. I'm not that type of person who will ever like watch you silently. No, I'll be in your comments. Yeah, sis. Woo, go on, bro. Like I'm that type of person because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how big the platform is. It doesn't matter how visible you are. I can only speak for myself. We're human beings. We're all going to need some level of affirmation and just kind of a reminder of like, oh yeah, we're doing our thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
It's important. So actually, you mentioned that you and your husband do business, right?
Yes.
What would you say, what's one boundary or habit you've both put in place that's really helped protect the relationship as life and work get busier?
Prayer.
Okay.
Simple.
Amen.
Prayer. Me and my husband pray a lot. We pray a lot. And the reason why I say that is simply because of the fact that it's not by power, it's not by might, it's by the Spirit of God. And if you believe you're called to business, there is no way that you can go to the business mountain and you don't have the God who is in your business back in you. Prayer. I'll say number 2 is communication as well. Communication. We talk a lot. Me and my husband were very good friends, companions. Yes, we're lovers, but we are good friends. Yeah. And we learned to communicate very quickly how to navigate things in the area of business. So there's that. And I'll say number 3 as well is it's not that deep.
Yeah. I love it.
Like it would never be me that would lose my marriage because of business. No, it's not that deep. If I need to shut down the business, I will. I'm not that type of person of like, oh yeah, the business will die. No. If my marriage, and my marriage is good by the way, guys, don't worry. But if my marriage was really on the rocks, and it was like my business was I'll shut it down.
And that's what it should be. A lot of people are not thinking like that. They're like, oh, it's got to be the career. It's got to be the business first over their relationships, over people who've been in their lives for how long?
I mean, it's not to bring up recent news, but guys, the Beckhams, that's a successful family.
Yeah.
Brooklyn came to the internet and basically said, yeah, look at my parents. Prince Harry fighting the royal family. It's not to bring up... Guys, look at these celebrity kids. Because you lot are talking about a career. David Beckham is one of the most successful footballers that came from this country. But his son went to the internet and outed their business. Yeah. So who cares about the career? Who cares about the business? Who cares? Because what happens is that your children are not watching you for your success. Yeah. They're watching you for your integrity. And I pray that that's something that my future children will see from me and my husband. Yeah. They're not going to watch me for my success. And I've seen that. Maybe because of the fact that I've been in ministry. I've seen a lot of pastors. Yeah. I've seen a lot of my friends that are pastors' kids. And some of them are broken. They're wrecked because they saw so many things in the area of church. They saw big ministers doing great things and behind the scenes or something else. And it messes up people. Yeah. It messes up people. Integrity is everything. And for me, I'm just big on, something that me and my husband are very big on. The things you see on us online, we are more lovey-dovey offline. Like, it's never going to be that my marriage is for show or anything like that. Yeah. Like, we have a podcast and we're kind of somewhat public about certain things. But one of the things that we have always said is our offline life and our offline marriage will always be better than what you see on the internet. Yeah. So if you like what you see on the internet, trust me, it's 10 times better offline.
And that's how it should be.
And how it should be and how it will stay.
Yeah. Amen. Okay. So I wanted to talk about your book, right? Yes. So what's one mindset shift from your book, Speak Up, that people need to adopt right now to stop hiding their value and start getting the recognition and income they deserve?
Oh, this is so good. I literally actually have a chapter called Your Voice is Worth the Invoice. Okay. And I basically talk about how a lot of people are very scared of charging for value. And I always say, like, a plumber will never come and fix your toilet and basically be like, oh, you know what? I'll just do it for free. Because he knows that he fixed an inconvenience. You need him. You need him to fix your toilet. And your voice can also do the same thing in terms of unblocking someone's destiny, unblocking someone in terms of their stagnancy in a job, stagnancy in terms of their career. I think because it's a voice, you don't necessarily see the impact, but voices do the exact same thing that plumbers do, but more on an emotional, spiritual, and mental note. And it's worth the invoice. So if the plumber can get paid, so can you. Yeah. And I think you have to basically, as I said, perceive value, change the way you value your voice, change the way you perceive your voice, change the way you see yourself. And I think when you change the way you see yourself, there's something that I learned very early on. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And perspective is everything, you know. Don't just walk by eyesight, walk by insight. Yeah. And I'm very big on walk by insight, have that vision for yourself, want more for yourself. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Hayley. Like, honestly, like I said, I could speak to you for hours. Really, this conversation has really been so inspiring. And thank you so much for like sharing some of the vulnerable stories. Because I know it's not, even though like I know you talk, a lot about some of your personal stories, it's not always easy revisiting some, places in the past as well. But again, really appreciate you sharing your stories. Appreciate you really just like sharing all the tips and tricks to really help people not just show up better, but also show up better in their lives as well, and hopefully be able to like move the dial. And I'm also wishing you very well with the book Speak Up. Like, I've got my copy, guys, so please make sure to give you a copy. I've started it. Is a great book so far. And really, even for me, I think I might have said this on the podcast before, even though I do the podcast, I'm a bit of an introvert slightly. So this book's gonna help me like break out my shell a little bit more, because I do believe in what you're saying in terms of speak up. I think it is important for us to speak up, and speak up in an age where we have the internet.
Yeah,
have the internet. You're able to do this, right? In this day and age, right, where you can change your life. My wife was showing me somebody on TikTok. I don't remember her name. I'll talk to you about it offline, right? But she now lives in LA. Apparently, she started off in, I think it was Kenya.
Oh wow!
Just started doing
TikToks. I think I know who you're talking about.
Started doing TikToks. So famous. Now she's living in LA.
Like Mama Jimbo. I think I know who you're talking about.
It might be that name. Yeah, she just showed me. Just changed her life.
Literally visibility. She's one. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Exactly.
Visibility. She just was visible.
Exactly. And this is the thing. This is the power of it. It's so important. So people can really do it. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Find me everywhere. Hayley Mulenda. Literally at Hayley Mulenda. HAYLEY MULENDA. And yeah, on Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, Foils, you can get Speak Up by Hayley Mulenda Record. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Hayley.
Like
I said, definitely want to do part 3 in the future. Do you have any final words for watchers and listeners?
You don't get the life you want, you get the life you settle for. Stop settling.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you featuring on the podcast. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. See you next week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, share your favorite part in the comments, tap the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is really appreciated. We'll keep working hard to bring you more valuable conversations.